Is it wrong of me to say I don't want Cooper Cup back? RamView.
There, let's blow off the last screen. Headline, Los Angeles.
Live from the RamCave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the March 3rd, 2025 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. KistlerLawFirm.com, that's one word. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair, having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And here's the big one. Okay, I know. I actually said this to my brother a few weeks ago, and he booted me. He got real nasty with me, gave me a nasty face emoji. And I do appreciate you guys coming in. Bill, Steve, Tim, all you guys that are out there. Keep firing your questions. I'll get to them here in a second. But we're at this point where I'm just listening to Rams media sometimes, and it's such a struggle sometimes. And I know that's, do you think better about yourself? No, I think better of all of us because I think you put in the work. I find this, and I'm not going to answer for Steve, but not everybody in media works hard. And I'm just stunned when they pivot to this, the Rams may have to release Cooper Kupp. Duh. Who's going to trade for that guy? Who's going to trade for Cooper Kupp? If the Rams get a 7th-round pick for Cooper Kupp with his salary, right, and his obvious decline, and I love the guy, what do you think the Rams are going to have to do? They're going to have to likely release him. I mean, I think we've all known that. And then that comes to the bigger one was, well, maybe they can bring him back in a restructure. And this is where I get a little heretical. Don't want people getting mad at me. I don't want to lose listeners. I don't want to lose my sponsors. But I don't know if I want Cooper Kupp back. I like the options of getting out from under his salary a little bit this year, a lot more in the following year, and what that opens up for what the Rams could do at number 26 in this year's draft and what they can do with potential free agency. As the word is buzzing now, again, while T. Higgins was tagged a second time by the Bengals, word is the Jets are going to put Davante Adams in the street as a cap casualty. And because of who the Rams are, players would want to come here to play for a ring. What's missing off Davante Adams' resume, as well as several other players? A ring. And I think they have the potential to give us more than Cooper Kupp would give. And again, they make this big deal about Kupp and Stafford have this great relationship. They have a great relationship. But when they're on the field, it's business. It's not personal. And the business was Puka Nacua was open, Cooper Kupp wasn't, and even Kupp's best friend couldn't get him the ball. So maybe I've just become jaded as the years have gone on. I don't want to see guys I like leave, but this is the cold reality of the NFL. With a little bit of free agency and a whole lot of salary cap, this is what it is. And I think the options are wide open getting out from under Cooper Kupp. And I struggle with the media when they come out and they just say, they may have to release him. It's like, duh. It's like, yeah, what's the scoop there? So anyway, I'm Joe Terosian, sports writer for 21 years. Posting stuff at Mid-Valley Sports now, contributing there. Thank you guys for clicking on. We're going to talk a little bit about the draft. We're going to see how the Rams interviews looked. They interviewed a lot of players this past weekend. And also what's trending now. And we talked about this last week is that once the Stafford and Alaric Jackson deals were done, we said throw out all the previous mock drafts. And lo and behold, all the most recent mock drafts, everything is trending for the Rams to grab a wide receiver now at 26, which I think all wise Ram fans wanted the Rams to do to begin with. And so away we go. All right. Before we get into Rams stuff, I'll talk a little bit about Sean McVay and the interview he gave today on Kupp's return and our possible return. And then, of course, everything else that he spoke about. Well, a little bit of stuff he spoke about. All right. Bill McVay said he was focused on signing a couple players. Who do you think they are? Yeah, that's a real interesting one. I do not know. By the way, everything's trending now that you see in the mock drafts. I'm seeing wide receivers and tight ends, wide receivers and tight ends. And is there a great cornerback out there that you want the Rams to spend money on? So T. Higgins was tagged 26 rocks this year. That leaves the door open for negotiations going forward. Bill, any interest in Slay from the team? I hate the Eagles. He was cut today. Darius Slay is 34. And if he comes in for pennies on the dollar, great. I mean, do you really want to kick that kind of money, any serious money to Darius Slay, right? Bill, do the Rams have 2 first-round picks for Higgins? I wouldn't give up 2 first-round picks for Higgins. I just wouldn't. Not at this point. But that's what it would cost to sign Higgins right now. Tim Burns, what player at 26 do you want the most? Any position, who is your guy? Well, it's receiver, and I'm starting to drink the Kool-Aid on Matthew Golden as well as any of these other guys. I do like the idea of moving back from 26, but if you're going to draft at 26, I want a wide receiver. If for some reason Tyler Warren's there at 26, that's where I would go to. ESG, 49ers parted ways with Debo. I think it's time for the Rams impact. I'm sorry about that. I think it's time for the Rams to do the same with Kupp. Yeah, I think we have made our decision on Kupp. And it stings a little bit more because, you have the whole Super Bowl experience with Kupp. And Debo was kind of whiny for a while. But here's the great news. That's a good trade for the Taxskins, and it's a marvelous trade for the Rams because one player that really stung the Rams over the years, who was it? It was Debo, right? And all the 49ers got in return, they got a little cap relief, but all they really got in return was a 5th-round pick. And this is marvelous. Think about this. They gave all that money to Ayuk up there in Frisco, who was injured. Now, you don't want injuries to play. I wouldn't have given him the money. The reason I just wouldn't have given him the money, whether injury or not, he's just not worth the money. But they gave him the money. He got injured, and now we got to see how he comes back. Ricky Pearsall, kind of a lost year, and they're depending on DeJuan Jennings. George Kittle's getting older. McCaffrey's getting older. Trent Williams. Yeah, this is marvelous. This is marvelous, and this sets up everything that we were seeing. The 49ers are ready to take I think they're going to take a serious step back. And again, the Cardinals are the team to watch out for if I'm a Ram fan. USA Expat, pick 26. For me, who is the best wide receiver or corner available? Impact wide receiver 1 or 2 would go a long way for the Rams, scoring big in the first quarter. Again, let your young D play with early leads. Okay, good point there. The only thing I wouldn't do is, as the Rams have gone defensive heavy in the last couple of drafts, I got to think they're going to lean offense, and it would be the best receiver available. Let's see. Steve Ramirez, Kupp is Phil Elliott finally being told, right? Is he looking at Sean and saying, BA, it is what I can do with these hands. All right. I'm a Phil Elliott fan. There we go. Bill, Thump made, okay. There we go. We're all talking politics here. Okay, geopolitics, Mr. Let's be like the Cowboys and throw. Oh, goodness gracious, guys. Can you give a brother a break here? Okay. Thank you, USA Expat. Tim Burns, okay, didn't see the rule book. I'm out. Okay. ESG, which side of the ball do you think the Rams are prioritizing, defense or offense? Offense. Yeah, I do. Absolutely, ESG. I do think they are. And again, I think part of that is I think they see the limits that Kupp has now. It's kind of what I said there in the opening moment where his best friend, guy he's really tight with, Matthew Stafford, Kupp wasn't open. If he was open, Stafford would have gone to him. But he has much more confidence in Puka Nacua. And the money that Kupp's making, they got to go offense. They need more explosiveness. McVay has said this. They need to be a little more dynamic. And yeah, and again, I look at this too. Like I've looked at Omarion Hampton, the North Carolina running back. Um, I think definitely they could be looking at running back because there's a lot of running backs in this draft, and I've heard more and more people talking about it. Maybe they shouldn't. Kyron Williams has been a great back for the Rams, productive, everything, but he just can't hit the home run, right? He's got Dwayne Kuiper, not Mel Kiper, Dwayne Kuiper power. He just can't. He's warning track guy, and once in a while you need that home run. Now I'm going to keep what I got, but I'm going to draft something more. Okay, let's see here. Neil Gonzalez, what do you think of the Rams going after Dre Greenlaw in free agency? He'd help the run defense and pass coverage. I'm not really into Dre Greenlaw, except if he comes cheap, right? If he comes cheap, that's it. I don't want to pay. It would be really weird for the Rams to break precedent and suddenly draft a linebacker at 26, like I saw. I think it was Lance Zierlein had the Rams. I think it was Lance Zierlein had the Rams in his latest mock draft, taking a linebacker at 26. And it would be really weird for the Rams to give any kind of big money. This isn't Bobby Wagner, right? It's Dre Greenlaw, who's a lot more banged up than Bobby Wagner was when he came to LA. And Wagner played great in 2022. But if Greenlaw wants to come at a cut rate, then I'm all for it. All for it. But I other than that, I don't want to pay any money. And I don't think the Rams do either. So in the interview, McVay did say he wouldn't close the door on Kupp's return. But if the likely happens, I'm curious about this. Where do you think Kupp goes? And if he's got something left in the tank, I would keep an eye on the McSneed tree. If you're really curious about where Kupp could go. You got Brad Holmes and Jared Goff in Detroit. Before there was Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp, it was Jared Goff and Cooper Kupp. And if he's got something left in the tank, can Brad Holmes or Jared Goff get it out of them in Detroit? Jacksonville, right? James Gladstone, Liam Cohen. That's right off the McSneed tree. Ram coordinator or Ram executive there. Fairly young quarterback still, chronologically, in terms of experience-wise, in Trevor Lawrence. And Kupp could be a good safety guy for him, right? Is there a possibility there? If he's dirt cheap and can still play, maybe Zach Taylor in Cincy, if he's running in between T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, he's something he could provide there. For a non-Rams tree, McSneed tree team, I think the Patriots, if he comes dirt cheap and he can still play, I think the Patriots would love, right? Wouldn't you, if you're a Patriot fan, just love to have Cooper Kupp there for Drake May? Yeah, I think I would. I think that would be pretty good. Bill, Kupp goes to the Chiefs. Yeah, that's one that's there. Although, again, dirt cheap, but they're dealing with age issues, right? Juju Smith-Schuster's not as young as he used to be. Travis Kelce just said he's coming back. You got to find out if Rashad Sheehy has anything left. Yeah, that would be an interesting one. It would be I thought it made more sense last year in a deal. Chris Childers, do you think the Rams and Bills will play in the Super Bowl? I think it could happen. I definitely think it could happen. I think at some point the Bills are going to break through. I don't think they're going to break through with a long run, but I think they're going to break through. I think at some point they are going to push through. Let's see. Willie Bowen, Kupp to the Chargers. I don't know if I'm the Chargers, I want that. I mean, again, if Kupp can play, but can Kupp play, right? It's just another. If that was the case, why don't you just bring back Keenan Allen, right? If you're the Chargers, just bring back Keenan Allen. Let's see here. Willie Bone Kupp, but Bill, do the Rams get a draft pick for Kupp or are forced if they're forced to cut him? No. If he's cut, he's gone, right? He's gone. This isn't a case of him playing out his contract, right? If he played out his contract, then you get a comp pick for him. But this isn't that case. You cut him, you get nothing. Atlanta with Raheem. To me, in Atlanta, when I'm thinking Atlanta, and you might be right, Steve, Cup going to Atlanta didn't figure because, again, I'm thinking they need edge rushers, right? They need some defensive help, and they've got to bring in. They got Penix, but they got receivers there, right? They got guys there, and so yeah, that didn't enter my mind. I guess that could be a possibility too. USA expat. How would you feel if Cup signed with the hated 49ers? It wouldn't bother me at all. He's not a Ram anymore. He's not a Ram anymore. And I would especially love it if he can't play at the level he's played at in the past and they pay him an exorbitant amount of money. If they say, we're going to stick it to the Rams and we're going to give Cup 5 to 10 rocks for one season, I'm loving it. I want them to spend the money. I want them to sign Brock Purdy to a 50-plus year, $50 million a year contract. I want the 49ers to spend money because the 49ers, for as good as they are, they're one of the worst teams about spending money. Do you think the Rams would have given Brandon Ayuk that contract? Do you think the Rams would have extended Trent Williams? I don't think so. Trent Williams is great, but Trent Williams is not playing as well as Andrew Whitworth was playing at the end of his career, at least the last season and a half. I know I said it. That might be bad, but that's how I saw it. All right, guys, keep the questions coming in. I hope Mr. Burns didn't leave us. Formal interviews by the Rams this weekend at the Combine. Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers. These are just conversations, interviews. Doesn't mean they're drafting anybody, what I used to do, it's kind of fallen out of rhythm in these last few years, is I try to find who did the Rams interview and who have the Rams interviewed and did they play in the Senior Bowl? Because the Rams really like Senior Bowl players, and then match that interview process up. And but it hasn't worked as much in the recent years. Rams are pretty good about not letting you know who they talk to, but these names broke over the weekend. Quinn Ewers, quarterback, Texas. Penn State tight end. They've interviewed 4 tight ends. Tyler Warren at Penn State, Gunnar Helm at Texas, Colston Loveland, Michigan, LSU tight end Mason Taylor. I like all those guys. Probably Taylor the least, but that's pretty interesting. It gives maybe an indication of where the Rams are leaning. I only got one cornerback interviewed, and that was Virginia Tech corner Dorian Strong, and one safety, Virginia safety Jonas Sanker. They interviewed wide receivers Tony Horton, Colorado State, Texas wide receiver Matthew Golden, Oregon wide receiver Tez Johnson, who's supposed to be a burner. And I guess I saw a link. I don't know if he got a chance to improve on it. He ran a 4.5 40. Whoa, right? And he's supposed to be a burner. Ole Miss's Trey Harris. And I was wondering if Mr. Burns is still here or he bailed. Mr. Burns, the Rams interviewed Cam Scatabo, your guy. So there's some names there that are really familiar and some that are kind of interesting. They interviewed one center, Georgia center, Jared Wilson, a couple of offensive linemen, one from Texas, one from Georgia, Kelvin Banks Jr., and Jared Wilson. So those are just names. And maybe what I'll do here, let me just make a copy. I will drop them into the comment box. So if let's see if they'll allow me to put that money in. No, they won't allow me to put that many in. Okay, sorry, guys. Let's see here. I just wanted you to see the names. I'll figure out a way to get them up. Maybe I'll drop them in the description when the show is over, just so you guys know who they are. All right, let's keep rolling here. Let's see. If Ayuk had been, this is from ESG, if Ayuk had been around and did what he did to the Niners, he would have been cut or traded right away. No player's bigger than the team is the Rams way. Yeah, I think so too. I think, again, I think that's the thing that's kind of overlooked in the Rams process is there is that certain character that they're always looking for that spares them this. This is why, really the Stafford thing these last 3 weeks was kind of mild, right? It was really kind of mild. The stuff with Cooper Kupp, really kind of mild, and it was because it was just, it's an obvious thing. It's not because of a player's character issue. The Rams just have been really good about who they draft, and so yeah, the Ayuk thing was out of the ordinary. Would not fit in with the Rams. Willie Bowen, Jordan Whittington or Demarcus Robinson should take Kupp's place next year. Nakua, next to Nakua on the LA Rams offensive spot. It's Jordan Whittington. I really believe it's going to be Jordan Whittington. I like Demarcus Robinson, but if you break down that wide receiver room, let's just say none of the free agents come back, right? Well, first off, Tyler Johnson and Tutu Atwell. Okay, Atwell, I can't understand why he would want to come back, right? But you got Nakua, you got Whittington, and then if the Rams draft a wide receiver at number 26, right, or they sign a big name guy that's put in the street as a cap casualty, right? What's the room there for Demarcus Robinson, right? How much are you going to pay Demarcus Robinson, and what room do you have for him where he's going to contribute? Whittington's going to play until he gets hurt, and Nakua's going to play until he gets hurt. The new guy, high ticket name in free agency as a cap casualty or a number one pick, they're going to play. They're going to be expected to play. And then you've got, Xavier Smith, who you want to get touches to. You can get Demarcus Robinson in there, but how much are you paying him? You're going to pay him 3 rocks, 4 rocks to be the 4th or 5th receiver on the team? You know what I see happening with Demarcus Robinson? I see him floating. I see him hanging around out there. Then I see some injury happening in the Rams horribly in August or September, and he's still out there on the market, and then the Rams bring him back. We've seen the Rams do that before. Paul Kistler. We're going to lunch tomorrow, Mr. Kistler. I'm excited about that. I think the Rams are targeting a wide receiver with the first pick, maybe one of the Texas guys. Interesting that you said that. I'm jumping ahead in the show here. I did see a mock draft that had the Rams taking Texas wide receiver, one, Matthew Golden. The other mock draft I saw was them taking wide receiver Isaiah Bond. I've got some images of Isaiah Bond, but I've done no study on Isaiah Bond. And so he might be one of the guys you're thinking about there, Mr. Kistler. I can see it. He's he plays for Texas. He's got to have game-breaking speed, right? Match him up with former teammate Whittington. Yeah, I can see that working. Let's see, DHP. Will the Rams cut a tight end and right guard that they sign in free agency? Well, Jonah Jackson is allowed to be looking for a team right now. So that's interesting. And again, you guys are asking good questions, and I'm kind of going ahead of myself in the show. But if you looked at transactions today, the Rams announced that they tendered an exclusive rights free agent contract to Dylan McMahon. McMahon, if you remember, played the last game. He was signed off the Eagles practice squad. He was a 6th-round pick of the Eagles. And again, their offensive line is so deep there that, they slipped him through waivers, put him on the practice squad. And they had to release him and then put him on the practice squad where he could sign with the Rams. He signed with the Rams, started in week 18. And it is kind of interesting that he got the start in week 18. The Rams didn't even bring Jonah Jackson off the bench there, right? And so you get the idea that, one, he wasn't a bad offensive lineman to begin with. He was drafted ahead of Bo Limmer. And so the Rams are keeping him around, which means he'll be the backup center next year and likely be the backup center next year. And Jonah Jackson, the Rams are going to find a way to deal him away. I think there was a rumor about the Patriots being interested, and that would be a good move for them because they need to protect Drake May. But yeah, and that would net the Rams maybe a 7th-round pick or some kind of funky pick swap type thing, right? And so Jonah Jackson's going to be gone. I think McVay declared that Havenstein and Higbee are coming back today. They'll be back. So the Rams are still at the 4 tight end mark. The tight end that's going to go for the Rams, I think, is Hunter Long. And I would guess maybe be Hunter Long. I'm going to be really surprised if they cut Colby Parkinson. I think Parkinson's a snowball rolling downhill in the sense that he's an easy mark. Was he great? No, he wasn't great. But I don't think he was as horrible as everyone thinks. I think there's also that adjustment to playing tight end for Sean McVay. And so I see the Rams hanging on to him. It's a 3-year, 22-rock contract, and it's a 9-rock hit this year, but then it goes down significantly in year 3. And I don't think it's a terrible thing. And you got Davis Allen still on his rookie contract. You got Tyler Higbee in the last year, I think, of his contract. And so I think the Rams could draft a tight end, and that might change things. But if that tight end is drafted, we know Hunter Long's probably not coming back. And why would Hunter Long want to come back? This point in his career, he wants to play, right? Unless there's no suitors, but I'm sure somebody might give him a shot because he's a competent tight end. But I think he's the odd man out there, at least in my way of thinking there, DHP. Steve Ramirez, I'd say Whittington for sure. D-Rob is a free agent, so I don't expect him back. All right, so we're in agreement there. Bill, they're a wide receiver from Oregon who ran 4.29.1. I forgot his name. 4.29. Oh, 4.2. Were you saying a 4.2.40? That wasn't Tez Johnson. I think they were expecting that number from him. Did something change? Because I saw where Tez Johnson got clocked at 4.5. Let me know. Let me know what's going on with that one. Rod, what up, Joe? The man. All right, I'm the man. Thanks, Rod. Appreciate that. Thanks for hanging in there. Bill, I think the Rams take a wide receiver in the first and third rounds. I can see that. I can definitely see that happening, taking a couple of wide receivers. If first round, maybe in the fourth, maybe later. You got 3 picks in the 6th. I can see something like that happening too. ESG, I'm praying Jonah Jackson finds a team. Just again, more cap relief, right? More cap relief. I think we're all looking for that. Okay, wanted to nail this down, but I'd already talked about it. McVay said Havenstein will be back. So Havenstein and Alaric Jackson in this last week have been absolutely confirmed they're coming back. Steve Avila, Kevin Dotson have contracts through 2026. We know they're going to be back. The Rams extended a contract to Dylan McMahon, the backup practice squad guy, and then they've got Bo Limmer. Now, Bo Limmer will be back, but maybe they've got somebody to be in competition with Bo Limmer if we saw the best that Bo Limmer's going to be this year. So, again, something to keep an eye on there. And so the Rams offensive line looks like it's settling in. Be nice to see them draft another one. Maybe in the 3rd round, maybe later on, just draft and develop. Okay. Deebo Samuel, we talked about it going to the Texans. Aren't you guys happy to see Deebo Samuel go? I mean, that's just great news. He's a Ram killer, and he's gone for a 5th round pick. It's good news for Washington, great news for us. Since he did franchise tag T. Higgins, and they cut guard Alex Kappa, who was a free agent that signed with the Buccaneers. He was on the Buccaneers Super Bowl team. He had been fading. The Chiefs tagged guard Trey Smith, franchise tagged him. Tomorrow's the last day to franchise tag anybody. Rams haven't franchise tagged anybody since LaMarcus Joyner in 2018. I don't think there's anybody on the roster they're going to franchise tag now. Loyal RamView follower Tim Powers was honking for Will Howard last week, saying, hey, he'd be a good fit for the Rams. And Will Howard, by everyone's estimation, had the worst combine ever and definitely played himself out of the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds. And the Ohio State quarterback will probably be drafted. But, again, the other thing about that, too, is he'll probably have a pro day, where it will get better. Also, speaking of former Rams head coach Scott Linehan. I don't know how you guys feel about Scott Linehan. I was anti-Linehan, and then I see all the drafts that took place. And I don't know if it was all his fault, but Scott Linehan has been bouncing around the NFL since leaving the Rams. He is now on Kellen Moore's staff in New Orleans. Like I said, tomorrow's the last day to franchise tag a player. NFL Combine is done. And yeah, we're a week away from the start of the new season, and that's when you're going to see a lot. Between now and then, you're going to see a lot of cuts. The legal tampering, you're going to hear a lot of stuff by this day, next Monday. You're going to hear a lot of conversations about negotiations going on because tampering is allowed. And then it kind of gets quiet during this free agency period. The free agency period is really hot for about 10 days, 2 weeks. And then the final month is all about the NFL draft. So there you go. Joe Terosian, sports writer for 20 years. Now I do RamView thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law and Temple City Auto. I also write books, and they can be found on Amazon, and you can check us out there. They keep me employed in my day job. I pastor a small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Naz, and we're right here on YouTube with Burbank Faith Virtual. And you can check us out there, BurbankFaithVirtual.com, and Burbank Faith Virtual across social media. If you have any questions, you can ask me about that. And so happy to be here. Please check us out on Spotify from the RamCave. We appreciate your support there as we try to diversify. Got a couple of things in the fire here. Trying to work out a couple of different things. It's just a question of when you launch, can you do it right? And I'm working on a restream type thing, and so which means we would be live not on just YouTube, but be live on different social media platforms. So the question is, you want to do it, but you want to do it right. So keep your eye out for that kind of stuff. All right, let's see. We got a couple of other questions here. Rod, we need Vita Vea. I'm always open to Vita Vea, right? Who isn't open to Vita Vea, right? Give me some Vita Vea. Doesn't he want to? Well, he get another Super Bowl ring with the Rams. Steve Ramirez, I'd like to see the Rams trade 26 to late first or early second and pick up another second round between 26 and 90 is a wide gap. Yeah, I agree. I'm all for that. Get another pick in the top 100. Absolutely, 100% for that. Of course, if Ibuka or Golden fell to 26, that changes things, obviously. The thinking, obviously. I don't know. That'd be interesting. First of all, none of you guys have gotten mad at me or said a word to me about saying I don't want Cooper Kupp back. But if you think of a guy that you would you want Ibuka from Ohio State or Golden from Texas? The way it's been late, I'd take either one of those guys. Rod, you think Puka gets 2,000 yards receiving? No, I don't think so. I don't think the way he plays, he's just too physical. I wish he would watch some video of Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce, how those guys, when they knew they were going to get hit, they just went down, right? So they wouldn't take the hits. But Puka doesn't play that way. And Puka plays wide receiver with a running back mentality, right? Is that fair to say? I think that might be fair to say. All right, just a reminder, outside of the division, these are the Rams' home games next year. You got the Saints, who should be struggling. You got the Buccaneers, another year with Mayfield. They re-signed Godwin. They got Mike Evans. Kind of curious what's going on there. You got the Texans, a strong team. You got the Colts. And the Colts are really undervalued. The Colts are a good team. They just don't have a quarterback. And then, of course, the Lions, they're all coming to SoFi. Away games besides the 49ers, Seahawks, and Cardinals. You have the Panthers, which is in Carolina. That looks like a 10 a.m. window game, right? Falcons indoors. Then you got the Jaguars. Depending on where the Jaguars are at, that feels like a 10 a.m. game. Titans, Eagles, Ravens, the two games that we should worry about most. Eagles and Ravens, especially as we get later in the year. You'll be dealing with snow. But I think after we saw last year, I don't think snow is an excuse for Ram fans to give their team a pass. Rams should have won that game in Philly. They didn't, and snow had nothing to do with it. So, but it is good to keep your eye on what the weather is going to be like. ESG, who do the Rams play in Australia? I think it's scheduled to be Philly, actually, in 2026. I'm hoping the players union will walk before that game and say we're absolutely not doing it, because I hate the idea of the Rams going there. I just absolutely do. But one season at a time, I guess. Bill, Tez Johnson is the receiver from Oregon I'm talking about. He ran a 4.2. Okay, am I getting bad information? Did I misread something? I know he has 4.2 speed, right? And I think he's listed at 5'10", but he comes in more about 5'8", and that means if he's 170, he's probably a carbon copy of Tutu Atwell, except he has return experience. But someone was saying he ran a 4.5, and man, I wish I can remember where I saw that. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Please, someone tell me I'm wrong. That's good. I'm happy to be wrong. All right. Looking at the mock drafts, Walter Football, which is a pretty good football site, they ran a 3-round mock draft. I didn't bother with their last picks because it was kind of a convoluted thing. But they have Isaiah Bond, wide receiver from Texas, going to the Rams. The Draft Network at 26 have Matthew Golden going to the Rams. Ibuka and most of those drafts was not available there. Now, I did look at Cam DeSilva's Rams Wire mock draft, and this is first through 7th round. Of course, Rams only have 1st through 6th, but he had Matthew Golden, Texas, And I think we'll all be happy with that. At number 90, he had Zy Alexander, cornerback, LSU. Anthony Belton, who's a name we've heard before. He's a right tackle from North Carolina State. At 100, he'd be a nice pick, and then see if you can groom him to be a replacement for Rob Havenstein, or maybe inspire Warren McClendon to another level. Number 126, and I don't have a problem with this, but at number 126, they have linebacker from Oklahoma, big guy, 6'3", Danny Stutzman. The Rams actually interviewed him, and Silva has him at number 26 for the Rams. And then at number 192, Ty Robinson, defensive tackle, Nebraska. I didn't get his size, though. Somebody can look up that and get me Ty Robinson's size from Nebraska. I really don't just want another DT. I want a fat body, right? And it was interesting watching Bobby Brown go off on Twitter this weekend, wanting to be used more. Hey, I want a guy that has the eye of the tiger. If the Rams could find room, I want him back. At number 203 was Louisville quarterback Tyler Show, and had more than a few people tell me they liked him, and he'd be a good project guy for the Rams to bring in. Because they were saying that don't let his age, mesh up. He's been in college for 15 years, I think. And then at number 204, De Silva had the Rams taking Gavin Bartholomew, tight end from Pittsburgh. All right, I think we got all that in there. All right, let's take a look at some questions before we get to the back half here. Let's see. When you have the team like the Rams who draft well, the draft is so exciting. Yeah, I'm going to ask you that, ESG. It's kind of interesting because I've talked to people who are bored by the draft when the Rams didn't have their first pick till 104, right? Or they didn't have a first pick until number 70. And I'm sorry, I'm not bored by it. I love looking at those, because you know what? To get to those lower level guys, you have to sift through a whole bunch of names. Now, the guy that you think they're going to draft, the Rams probably won't draft. But at least when they do draft a guy, because you've had to sift through a bunch of names, you're going to know who they are. And that's one of the things I love. And so I think we all knew the Byron Young Dollar Tree story, right? I think we knew some stuff about Kobe Turner initially, right? And everything. And so you love that stuff. I always love that about that, especially because, again, like you said, ESG, the Rams draft well. Steve Ramirez, Tez had an unofficial time of 4.5, then slipped to 4.55. Okay. Augie Figueroa, Figueres, Tez ran a 4.5 in the combine. That's curious, right? This guy's obviously not slow, right? So I don't know how they worked that out. It's a bummer for him because that could cost him some money. And again, what was the thing that they used to tell us, because where I worked at Mid-Valley Sports back in the day, one of the things that was a big deal was, man, when spring came and they just started throwing a football, man, you go out there with your camera and talk to players and coaches. And, who cared about high school baseball at that point? No one cared about high school baseball. All they wanted to see was players in shirts and shorts throwing the ball around in passing leagues and all that kind of stuff. And of course, the coaches would say, yeah, he looks great right now. Let's wait until we put on helmet and pads. And sure enough, a lot of spring superstars often faded in helmet and pads under the Friday night lights. And we talked about this on Friday, a lot of beasts at the combine because they become experts at the drills, but that doesn't mean they're great football players. And so I love watching this stuff. But I'm also wondering, we shouldn't get too worked up maybe about Will Howard having a bad combine. We shouldn't get too worked up about Tez Johnson running slow, because we know the guy can run. We know the guy's fast. So ESG, love finding those hidden gems. Yeah, absolutely. And what team does it better than the Rams, right? And again, I'll go back to Ben Skoranek. No one thought anything. 7th round, was it 249 or 251? In the last 5-10 picks of the draft, no one thought anything about it. But by the end of his rookie season, he's catching passes in the Super Bowl because of injuries, right? And he contributed. He got on the field for Sean McVay, right? He got on the field for Sean McVay. And I love it when you see the Rams get clicks out of these guys. What was Jordan Fuller, the safety? Jordan Fuller was a 6th round pick, I think, out of Ohio State. Was that what he was in 2020? You do know that Jordan Fuller just turned 27 today. Jordan Fuller turned 27 was his birthday. So yeah, I love those hidden gems. Let's see. Steve Ramirez, Tez did have a 6.6 in 3 cone drill, which ranked high. I'm not familiar how those numbers work with the cone drill. Basically, I look who did well in the cone drill, but I don't look to the right and see what their numbers were. But we know he's a terrific athlete, right? And unlike Tutu, and I'm a Tutu fan, he can return kicks, right? So again, someone to keep an eye on. Let's see. Bill, my mistake. I read it wrong. He read a 4.29 in the shuttle run. Okay. All right. No worries, Bill. You're good. It's all good. I just want to see you, Mr. Burns, get along. There we go. All right. Born on this day in 1954, Jim Jodat out of Carthage. My brother's favorite player. He loved those pesky guys. I remember Jim Jodat. Was it number 43 with the glasses? What I remember about Jim Jodat is the Rams went for it on 4th down in the NFC Championship game. And, of course, that was the year McCutcheon was hurt. Tyler was hurt. Capelletti had a busted shoulder. And so they were scrambling outside of Cullen Bryant to get a running game. Remember, they signed Anthony Davis at the end of 78. Maybe you don't remember. I remember. And Jim Jodat, special teamer galore, was getting playing time. And they went for it on 4th down, and the Rams got stoned by the Cowboys. And later it was discovered that Jim Jodat ran up the wrong hole. He ran the wrong hole, and just fate, right? Fate destroying the Rams. That's my Rams news for March the 3rd. March the 4th is a good day in Rams history. They hired Boyd Dowler as an assistant coach in 1970, joins George Allen's staff. And then interestingly enough, even though he was retired, he came out of retirement and played in 12 games, started 7 for the Redskins, catching 26 passes in 1970. He got hurt early in 72, so he didn't play in the Super Bowl. Rams on this day, tomorrow, they signed Leslie O'Neal. We talked about Leslie O'Neal, how he gave the Rams a couple of great years. And then they lost Grant Wistrom. Remember Grant Wistrom? He was on the 99 team, the Super Bowl 34 and 36 teams. He was the Rams defensive end. I think this came out of Nebraska. He was the next Jack Youngblood type, and they let him walk in free agency. He signed with Seattle, but the Rams really got the most they could have from him. 2010, Rams released defensive tackle Claude Roten. He was a 3rd-round pick of the Rams, 68th overall in 2006. He was a defensive tackle, wore 99. Believe it or not, he wore 99. And in that 2000 draft, here's the interesting thing. The Rams moved back from number 11 to number 15 in a deal with Denver. The Broncos got Jay Cutler. Now, whatever you think about it, Jay Cutler was a successful NFL quarterback. And at number 15, the Rams took Ty Hill. And with the 3rd pick received in that trade, they took Claude Roten, who in 4 seasons with the Rams never started a game and got 1.5 sacks in his whole career with the Rams, let alone we know what Ty Hill turned into. Also, tomorrow is Jordan Fuller's birthday. He turns 27. I'm not sure. Is he still there? Did he go to Carolina or Jacksonville? Is he still in the league? Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Steve Rand, I think Jim Jodat returned an onside kick for a TD once. I don't know. My memory is Mike Gooman, Steve. Mike Gooman returned an onside kick against the Bengals for a touchdown. He was a little more taller, bigger, better contributor guy with the Rams. He wore 44, I think. And yeah, he returned, I know, an onside kick. I don't know about Jodat. All right. I think we got it in. I think we're good. I don't know if I'm going to go 50 minutes today, guys. Throw out some questions. I'm happy to do some more chat with you guys. And everything. Be sure to check out Mid Valley Sports. It's where we're contributing. We got some good stuff there. Tim Burns is contributing. Dano contributed a mock draft. Go to Rams Notes. All you got to do is you go to midvalleysports.com. There's pro football thing there, unless you want to scroll down and hit that, and you'll see Rams Notes. You'll see bolt action for the Chargers. You'll see autumn wins for the Raiders and such. And so we're getting people to contribute. So if you got a mock draft or something you want to throw at us for Ram Notes, please feel free to throw it our way, and we'd be happy to put it there. We put links in last episode where to find those. and check those out. And again, we could really use your support on Spotify because we're not getting much traction on Spotify. All right. And no one's got a problem with me not wanting Cooper Kupp back. All right. That's great. I'm happy to hear that. If you guys have a note or anything you want me to share with our sponsor, I'm having lunch with Paul Kistler tomorrow. And you guys, something he needs to know from you Ram fans, that's fine. I was also asked, someone said, our podcast is a little different because we do questions half the time. I do appreciate that. I like this format better than me just recording. I mean, you tell me. Probably be a little smoother if I recorded everything slowly and did all that. I prefer the immediate stuff. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know what your thoughts are. And I think we're good. Bill, thank you so much from Philly chiming in. All right, my man. So we do appreciate that. Did anyone see, I didn't make it in my notes. It's going in my fan view column. Did anyone see, I didn't see it, the Jordan Schultz, Ian Rappaport confrontation? Did they throw? Did they shove? What happened in that? Does anybody know what happened in that interaction there? And really, it was kind of funny because they're considered NFL insiders. Jay Glazer's an insider. Adam Schefter's an insider. Everyone's an insider. I was never an insider on anything except, along with Steve Ramirez, is that we both probably for 20. Well, Steve longer than me, probably closer to 30 years. We both covered San Gabriel Valley football here in LA, in California. And you could probably say we were insiders to that because we always knew something about coaches or something. But I always felt like knowing information was kind of a two-edged sword. Yeah, you were the scoop guy, you got it. But there was always so much that you were told that you could never say. And if you said anything that alluded to something and you had no intention of it, a coach or someone who gave you the information would misinterpret it and then get on your case. I much better appreciate being on the outside because now we are free to fully speculate and see things. And so there's no need to get into a shouting match. You trade a little bit of the scoop, but I think you have a better conversation. And I love piecing things together. One of the things I did, I think one of my first, was it the first week with the show? I mean, one of the first shows I did in 2020 or early 2021, before the Rams made the deal for Stafford, is I suggested that the Rams, that the 49ers, I said, keep an eye on Matthew Stafford. I think the 49ers are going to make a move for Matthew Stafford. And because I couldn't see the Rams getting out at that time from Jared Goff's contract. And then sure enough, I'm feeling pretty good. And then I heard Stafford's traded and I was all jazzed. And I went to my Twitter and I go, oh, the Rams got him. And I was happy. And then there was this little part of me that was like, man, if he had gone to the 49ers, I'd have looked like a genius. But I didn't know anything. I didn't read anything. It was just Stafford was getting older. What team needed a quarterback? What made sense? It was the 49ers and obviously the Rams, right? But I love piecing things together. I love studying something and piecing things together. So I don't want to be best friends with the coaches. I don't need to be inside. It's funner. It's much more fun to be on the outside. There we go. All right. Shouting match, Bill said. That was the Rappaport Schultz. What was it about? Was it about the Stafford thing? What was it about? And then Steve Ramirez, a reason why going to Starbucks is bad. Yeah. Now, my wife spent the money. We got a really good coffee maker at home. I mean, it's really good. The only thing it doesn't do is say good morning, Joe. But I can get macchiato. I can get latte. I can get espresso. I can get cappuccino. It takes the whole beans for regular coffee and grind it. And I can grind my coffee and put the ground decaf in. So, yeah, I'm never going to go to Starbucks again. Steve Ramirez, it was about the Stafford deal. Was it about whether or not the ski trip was planned and wasn't planned and they just ran into each other? An accident happens once, but when an accident happens twice, I'm kind of suspicious. And I think, was it Jordan Schultz that was suspicious about the Stafford thing? Like, oh, they suddenly ran into each other. I'd be suspicious too. Now, of course, the Rams gave Stafford permission to search for a better deal. My question from the other end was Tom Brady's issue that He works for Fox. 10 years, $37 million a year. At some point, someone in the NFL is going to say, this is too close, right? This is way too close, way too hands-on, and such. I wonder if there's like a buffer that Brady can't be in contact with his the Raiders from August to January or something. That seems a little too close. Mike Negretti, hola, Pastor Joe. Did you see the interview with Sean McVay? I caught different parts about it. Steve Ramirez, yes, it was the ski trip. Okay. ESG, Brady is the reason why the NFL needs to clamp down on tampering. Yeah. Hey, I'm happy. Matthew Stafford's back. Alaric Jackson's back. We're not going to waste a pick on a tackle at number 26. Hopefully they find a receiver, right? Game changers, right? Playmakers, something more dynamic for the offense. And I, again, love to see a move from 26 to 32. Maybe one of those linemen the Chiefs want. Maybe the Chiefs want a Josh Connerly, right? Maybe the Chiefs want a Josh Simmons, and the Rams can move back to 31, right? Get another third rounder, get something between number 26 and number 90, as Steve suggested. So, all right, guys, we hit the 50-minute mark, which is my favorite thing to do. Guys, thank you for hanging out with me. It was a lot of fun. Please hit like, hit subscribe, hit share. Tell your friends about it. I want my numbers up. I got to meet with the sponsor tomorrow. God bless. Take care, guys. We'll see you on Wednesday.